The Lauri Markkanen trade drama appears to be alive and well despite the recent news saying that Danny Ainge and that front office came up with a absolutely ludicrous package requirement from the Golden State Warriors as far as what it would take in order to acquire their lone all-star Lauri Markkanen. Despite that, and it coming out literally almost 2 weeks into trade talks with them, and being the only public trade proposal that's been introduced, or requirement, should I say, as a standard mark from the Utah Jazz, just goes to show how unlikely it is and how much more comfortable they are with re signing him, as I personally feel that they should. However, there's one player that they are almost certainly demanding from the Golden State Warriors that kind of has the Warriors front office in limbo. That player is Brandin Podziemski, and he is a guard that will likely end up taking the reins to the franchise after Stephen Curry has concluded his career with the Golden State Warriors, unless they do end up dealing him elsewhere. He was recently anointed by their front office as being a future All-Star, and while I do believe that it is extremely possible for him to do so, I also understand why they would be, the most hesitant to trade him over somebody like Kuminga or a Moses Moody, because he has the most upside. And with obviously Stephen Curry getting up there in age, and while he does have a shooter's mentality, and that's what's allowed him to be as effective as he is getting into that latter half of his 30s, he's only got but a few years left. So if you're the Warriors, do you want to market everything in your potential future in favor of winning as much now with your GOAT, the greatest Warrior of all time? That's the question we're going to discuss today, as well as the potential trade package and the news surrounding it. Hello there, it's your boy Wraith Hoops. Go ahead and smash that like button, subscribe, and turn on post notifications if you're into NBA basketball. I do this as much as possible. With that being said, let's go ahead and get into this one. NBA insider Mark Stein had this to say in regards to the Golden State Warriors trade. There is belief in some corners of the league that Utah's interest in Golden State's Brandin Podziemski, in combination with future draft compensation that the Warriors could package with the all-rookie first-team selection, is serious enough that it keeps alive the prospect of market trade between now and August 6th, effectively meaning that there's no super concrete deal on the table that's essentially defining how likely they are to make that trade, but it's just to say, hey, the Jazz are really interested in this one player that we have. We don't really know if we want to give him up, but we're going to keep it in mind and say, hey guys, it's still on the table. We just need to think it over a bit. Just at the very least to keep it going until Lauri has the ability to re-sign with the Jazz and sign that big extension for $269 million for 5 years. The facts of the situation is that the Warriors have been much more willing to trade away Jonathan Kuminga than Podziemski. Mind you, they did not put Kuminga in the initial trade proposal that they offered across the table. They sent Moses Moody with draft compensation. And while Moses Moody's a decent role player, he's not having the upside that anybody even close to Lauri Markkanen has. So for that reason, understandably so, Danny Ainge in their front office said, get that out of here. We want something better. But for the fact that the Warriors were still hesitant to put Kuminga in the trade tells you how much they value Kuminga. Now they're saying that Kuminga is worth even less than Podziemski. That just shows how high they actually value the player that Podziemski is currently and potentially could be in their minds going forward as their replacement candidate for their one and only GOAT. Markkanen is obviously expected to make $18 million in salary next season, and it's one of those things where it is something that will be very easily matched at the trade deadline. And I believe that if they were able to obtain Lauri Markkanen, I think that they would do their best to end up re-signing him and slapping him with that full max contract. That said, it's likely that it doesn't happen to begin with, because as I said, they don't feel comfortable trading away Podziemski. The fact of the matter is, he's 21 years old, he has 3 years remaining on his rookie contract. It's not anything that's going to be super costly to maintain him as a player individually. The fact of the matter is, you also have to take into account that Kuminga's due for a $140+ million extension. You also have multi-year deals for Stephen Curry, Andrew Wiggins, and Draymond Green. And those are all coming up in the very short term. So the person that's on the roster the longest out of all those core pieces is going to be Podziemski. And he's the one getting paid the least amount. So if you can keep him over having to pay Kuminga, I think that that's a very clear decision that the Warriors would be willing to make. But again, they're trying to keep dangling the idea that they might potentially trade him, but they really don't want to because that's the person they're willing to market their future on. They like Kuminga, and if push comes to shove and he's still on the roster, they will pay him that 140 plus million, but they also don't want to commit to it because they don't see the same level of potential upside and, just to be quite frank, winning basketball that Podziemski could potentially bring to the team. And that's completely fair to say. That combined with the fact that the overall draft flexibility and just opportunities as far as capital goes isn't extremely high with the Warriors, and you have a recipe that's just kind of okay. It's just kind of when you look at it from the Utah Jazz perspective. Combine that with the fact that most fans feel like we can lose with Lauri perfectly fine on the roster, and there's no urgency to trade him. There's no need to trade him. So if you're not going to get a massive haul in return, then what are we even doing it for? For reference, in just 26.5 minutes last season in 74 games, Podziemski averaged 9.2 points, 5.8 rebounds, 3.7 assists, and 0.8 steals on shooting splits of 45.4% from the field and 38.5% from three-point range. Those are understandably a lot better than most rookies will tend to do. And for the fact that he was able to be that effective from just his rookie season outright just goes to show the potential upside that he could have. Because while Kuminga is finally coming into his own, he didn't start out with the same glitz and glamour and just flashes of brilliance that Brandin presented. It's the fact of Brandin, number one, being healthy, number two, being a decent defender, all things considered. Also being 6'4" helps him because he's taller than Steph Curry. He doesn't shoot as great as Curry, but he's still a great shooter at 38.5%. That's definitely above league average. And he's just overall a player that you feel comfortable having on the floor to lead your offense. He did it during stretches of the season last year when Curry was on the floor and even managed to play well with Curry on the floor alongside him. So understandably so, it makes sense why the hesitation is there. It also makes sense why the Utah Jazz would love to have him because Keyonte George, as Danny Ainge has said, he's not ready to really commit and say that he wants him to play the point guard spot. And honestly, I personally think he should be starting at the shooting guard spot. I think Colin Sexton should be the starting point guard this year. And if you really want to put a little razzle dazzle to it and just go full on tank ball, then Isaiah Collier would be the ideal person that you start at point, not Keyonte George. But if you could get Brandin Podziemski, that would be even better because you have a certain guard that you know is going to be reliable. You know he's going to be able to pass the ball. You know he's going to be able to control the offense. And just honestly, he looks good doing it. The other ironic part of it is the fact that the people fail to remember that I believe the Utah Jazz actually passed over Podziemski in the draft twice, if memory serves me right. I know they definitely did it once, but I believe they did it twice. So the fact that they're going to double back now and say, you know what? We made a mistake. I'm sorry. We was wrong. Could we get your boy? Could he come over here? It's just kind of funny to me. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below. As always, I'm interested. Do you think that this trade is any level of feasible? Do you think that it's just a lot of smoke and mirrors and just quite simply Lauri Markkanen is going to end up re-signing anyways, and Danny Ainge is just doing this because this is the correct thing to do when you have a star that is on the verge of re-signing but also has a high level of value in the league for a team that isn't going to go anywhere currently? Or do you just enjoy the rumor mill and wait to see what ends up coming of it? Either way, go and smash that like button, subscribe, turn on post notifications, donate to the channel, or become a member to help support the content. And as always, it's been your boy Wraith Hoops. Good morning, good evening, and good night, no matter where you're on the globe watching. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.